Aloha everyone! In this final video of 2017, we'd like to share with you a conversation I had with John Chavez, the man whose idea it was to form an outrigger team for blind and visually impaired people. As we look back on the year, we're so happy that our focus on the Ohana was so well received. 6 Ohana days, more than a dozen community outreach events, and a triumphant return to Kona by our adult paddling team showed that the Makapo magic was alive and well. But that magic started 11 years ago when John had the idea of entering an all-blind crew in the 2006 Queen Lili'uokalani Outrigger Canoe race. So we'll begin by finding out how John came up with the idea and how he convinced Billy Whitford to go along with the plan.
The epiphany, if you will, happened on the flight back from 2005. Because back then, I wasn't listening to movies and stuff. I was just staring out the window. I said, this is feasible. We just need someone who can see and knows what they're doing. And I said, Billy, I'd like to put my own team together. He said, okay. And again, Billy's usually doing 10 things at once and probably thinking of 10 more things he needs to do there, even in the winter. So I said, no, Billy, a blind team. He turned around and says, are you crazy? I said, yes, but is it feasible? And he said, let me think about it.
For John, that was enough to move forward and find some guys who were willing to try something that hadn't been done before.
If he's thinking about it, assuming he says yes, there has to be at least people, obviously, because that's what I knew. I talked to you the year prior, right, and you had a kind of important engagement. You had a wedding to do. So, and Tad I talked to 2, so that was 3. And so once we got Ron, and Billy and I talked on and off from February through April, and then he said, well, do you have a team? I said, yeah.
John now had a crew made up of himself, John Holton, Tad Wagner, Ron Johnson, and myself. All that was left was to find a steersman.
I said, Billy, I can't hooli with blind people. I said, it can't happen. I need a steersman. And so all summer long, I said, Billy, I need a steersman. Can you find me a steersman? Never expecting him to be him. I said, and so finally, towards the end of time, he said, I'll steer for you. I said, okay. And again, not knowing all Billy does at NAC, not knowing all his commitments and stuff, the fact that he chose to steer for us is still impressive to me.
But we still didn't know that Billy was a very successful outrigger coach. He had coached over 10 teams of women to victory in the Nawahine Oke Kai race, a 41-mile crossing of the Kaiwi Channel from the island of Molokai to Waikiki Beach on the island of Oahu. Our crew, now called the Blindsiders, set out to train for the race of our lives.
So our first actual practice in which we were all there, was a Sunday after Memorial Day weekend, which again is quite comical now, given what we do now practice-wise, where we start in February, March. So, but nonetheless, when you don't know what you don't know, and you don't know what the race is going to require, that's all I knew was practicing once a week for an hour and a half. That's all I ever did.
Billy, however, wanted to make sure we understood the true nature of what we were trying to do and made a suggestion.
It was on the beach, and he said, I think we should do the Sunday race. And I said, no, we're doing the Saturday race. We're doing the long course. He just got silent. He said, okay, then what you're doing is not enough. And he got very serious. He says, you need to be doing more. Whatever you do outside here, it has to be done on a regular basis, not just Sundays here. He said, because if you don't do that, the first half of the race you may do, but the second half is going to be a death march. And they may not let you do it again for the safety reasons. He says, so you better be prepared for that. I think all of us took that to heart and did what we could to work out. And but I just felt that it would be, if we were able to do it, the accomplishment would have been far greater to do the long one rather than the short one. I believe we could finish, and no matter how long it took us, because that's what I'd done. I'd always finished and always last, but that was okay. The goal was to finish the race, and because that's all I'd done before, practice once a week, I knew we could do it.
With just over 2 months of weekly practices, our crew headed out to Kona. With Billy there as our steersman, we knew we were in good hands.
This is quite a challenge, as you can imagine. Not being able to have perfect sight is a bit of a handicap when you're paddling in the ocean. So I was a little bit concerned at the beginning, but as the time goes on, you get to know the guys, and they just don't quit. They're just awesome.
And ultimately, we found ourselves at the starting line of the world's largest outrigger canoe race.
At the beginning of the race, you know how close the canoes were together. It seemed like they were like 2 or 3 feet apart. And the guy to our right, because we were the Blindsiders, and he said, so all you guys are blind? And I said, yeah. I said, except the steersman. He said, cool. And I don't know who he was, and I don't know where he's from, but that's when I thought, you know what? We're going in the right direction. Because for us, we think it's a good idea. But if somebody else thinks it's a good, it's something unique, well then, that's good to hear.
The starting horn went off, and we began paddling furiously. But it was clear from the beginning that we were paddling against people who practiced a little more than we did.
There are times when being blind is a good thing because those that could see better, we were out of, they passed us, but in a matter of probably, 2 or 3 minutes, we were by ourselves.
But we continued to paddle and not give up. And Billy kept on encouraging us to keep on going. A safety escort jet ski was assigned to us, but he didn't know he was following a team of all blind paddlers, and he understandably wasn't too happy about it.
Billy finally, after hearing, come on, one, reach out, you guys, hey, come on, get together. Billy finally, Billy said, they're all blind. And the guy said, Makapo? Billy said, yes. And that's when he became our friend. He pulled right up to us, he goes, come on, you guys can do it, come on. All you guys, come on, go on, you, 3, reach out. That's when he changed, when he realized we were blind.
With another supporter following alongside and a Hawaiian language lesson to boot, we finally crossed the finish line with no one except my wife Rita and a news reporter to greet us.
So we got in, I think, was it 3 hours and 10 minutes? They were not expecting us. So there were no cameras, there was nothing, because Billy thought it would be 3 hours, 30 minutes, given what our conditioning was, given the conditions, whatever they were. And so they weren't even there to meet us because they just, they're not gonna, Billy said 3 hours and 30 minutes, and so that's what they gave. So we actually did better than I'd ever done any of my races before, which was, very encouraging. As we pulled into the beach, and Billy's saying, hey, here's my blind team. This guy from North says, Billy, how you doing? It's like, I didn't know how popular Billy was. I didn't know all that he'd done in his past until that day. Everybody was approaching Billy, congratulating him.
The next day, John and our videographer, Jim Breen, met some new fans.
Jim sat me down at a table, and he was up at the bar, and some guys were talking about the race. And Jim, and about the blind team that was in the race. And Jim overheard him. And he asked him, are you guys talking about the race yesterday and the blind team? And the guy said, yeah. He goes, well, the guy that put the team together is right over there. So they all left their bar stools and came over to the table. And they said, what's your team? I said, I don't know. They're probably still resting, or they're here. They're doing something, but I wish they're not here though. But unfortunately, he goes, what you guys did was very inspiring. He says, I think, that's to see you guys not only do the race, but to finish the race is really inspiring. He said, where are you guys from? I said, we're from NAC, which is in Newport Beach, California. And he said, well, it's really encouraging to see you guys. He said, you guys come back next year? I says, I don't know, but we hope to, I don't know. I said, where are you guys from? He says, we're from Pearl Harbor, we're all SEALs. He said, what you guys do is inspiring to us. And to see you guys out there giving all you can, and you're blind, what we do as our job is what you guys do is inspiring. And when I heard him say that, I said, you know what, we're going the right direction.
11 years later, the Makapo Aquatics Project works closely with Billy and the NAC. helping blind people experience outrigger paddling for themselves.
We took essentially a blueprint, and this is what we'd like to do, but can we do it? And we've done it. We've been able to go beyond our comfort zone and to reach out to other communities. We have given the opportunity to others to experience what we first experienced back in 2006. You are truly more potential than you are actuality. Because if you limit yourself, then you don't know what you're capable of doing. And again, even being naive, we still did it. I know my limitations, but most important, I know that there are other people out there that can help me and others get to that next level. I think by being able to trust into other people to assist us on that goal, I think that's why we are where we are today.
But all of this still comes down to Billy saying yes to John.
If Billy would have said no in February 2006, it would have been over. I didn't know anybody else. It would have ended. The dream would have ended at that point. No, it was more of a thought than a dream. But Billy made the dream or the desire to become a reality. It had to be a special person, and Billy and the staff were those people to allow us to do what we probably didn't think we could do.
We hope you enjoyed this video. In 2018, we've got a lot of great things planned. So follow us on Facebook and Instagram, subscribe to this YouTube channel, and we'd like to close out with a special message from John to Billy and the NAC.
Thank you, Billy and the staff of NAC, for your decade plus of support. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to do things that we didn't think that could be done a decade later after doing it. But words cannot express my gratitude, my appreciation for not only, and I will say on behalf of all of us who paddled with Makapo, because they're not here right now, but nobody would certainly disagree with what I'm about to say, that your support of us has allowed us to be the people first, the paddlers that we proud, and we're grateful. Thank you.